hot and techy Brezza, the city-bred SUV.
222 for 6 is where KKR finished against RCB after being asked to bat first. An innings where 75 of those runs came in the power play and 67 in the last 4. What do we make of that total? Let's find out from our guests on Maruti Suzuki Arena, presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout in the continued company of Tom Moody, Mitch McClenaghan and Wasim Jaffer. So much happened in the first 6, so many runs in the back 4, that a middle phase of just 8 per over and you still finish 220 plus.
I mean, I think RCB bowled well, to be honest, compared to the previous games, but they still feels like they've always got one bowler short. They've got issues, finishing the innings. Yash Jha, I don't, believe that he's the guy to go to. But I thought the lines they bowled to Andrew Russell and the wickets they've been taking in the regular intervals have halted them to 222. Otherwise, it looked like it's going to go much bigger than that.
Despite the fact that you've got 142 runs in those first 6 and last 4, those same phases also saw Russell and Narayan combined make 37 of 35. Does that tell us something about the surface?
Look, I think that middle phase, what we saw is their only spinner, which is quite amazing to think that they've only picked the one spinner on that surface. Karan Sharma bowled 4 overs for 33. And he's come out of the cold, and put in a performance like that. Imagine if they had, a world-class spinner, or someone like a Chahal, or a couple of the KKR spinners. So that's alarm bells for me, particularly going into the second innings, because KKR do have the spin battery to be able to take advantage of what looks like a surface that does aid a bit of slow bowling, spin bowling. You could see RCB had better plans. They bowled particularly well to Narayan up front, so they had clear plans and they executed them really well. But there was other occasions they had plans and you could see what they're trying to do, but they didn't execute them as well as they could have done. And I think that's just the lack of experience and quality they have in their bowling stocks.
Yeah, they maybe missed a trick with the amount of time. It looked like they put a lot of time and energy into trying to make sure Narayan didn't get away, and rightfully so. But then when they went to bowl to Phil Salt, they just switched off and didn't seem to have as clear a plan to him. And someone like Phil Salt's going to take you down if you don't pay him that kind of respect. And we saw that in Lockie Ferguson's first over, which went for 30 or 28 in that first over, which was, I thought RCB had bowled pretty well until that point. I thought they challenged KKR to play some tough shots and had a clear plan and were executing. So the power play probably looked a little bit inflated because of that over. But yeah, as you pointed out, they pulled it back nicely. And when they only really had 5 bowlers, I know they could have bowled Lomraw an over or so. It was significant that Lockie Ferguson, after going for 34 off his first 7 balls, his next 17 balls only went for 13. Otherwise, it really could have been 240, 250 total.
Yeah, and that RCB bowling effort makes it quite intriguing. Lockie Ferguson, as you say, Mitch, pulled it back. You've had Cam Green, who's generally not bowled his quota, bowled 4 overs for 35. Did you find it surprising that through the middle there was no usage of Lomraw?
And even Will Jacks. Even though Will Jacks loves to bowl in the power play, but they clearly want to go with medium pacers at the power play, which is the right thing. But I feel there was a stage where they could have used 1 over of him and probably Lomraw as well, and they could have had Lockie probably bowling in the death, and those 10-20 runs would have been much shorter, I feel.
Yeah, really good point. From an RCB point of view, the fact that Cam Green got 4 overs, 2 for 35, that's huge. I think you've done really well to get 4 overs out of him for that economy, which will give him confidence going forward, but it also means that, they can say, okay, this is our lineup if we manage to chase this down, and then look at those options as well, and how can we fit in a Will Jacks or a Lomraw.
They've ended up bowling 3 of the last 4 overs from Yash Jha, who bowled 2, which went for 42, and Siraj for 16. Did the bowling plans need to be different?
What options they got? That's the problem. What options they got? Lockie Ferguson is probably, the most experienced death bowler amongst their ranks, but he was bowled out during that phase where they were trying to get Russell out when he first came to the crease. That's the problem with this squad, is that RCB don't have the resources like a lot of other teams with regards to managing different phases. They don't have the spin resources, they don't have the pace bowling resources, whether it be with a new ball or at the death. So they're going to be constantly exposed, and people are going to be having to carry responsibility which they're not ideally designed for.
Let's shift our attention to the KKR innings. It got off 75 in the power play, despite Sunil Narayan having his quietest day. RCB had their plans quite clearly. They bowled a certain way. That worked. But if Narayan doesn't get you, Salt will. And that fourth over, as Mitch points out, was so key to them having that start.
Yeah, I mean, both of them goes in one direction, and they go hard at the start, and Salt did hurt them. And even if you bowl good balls to these guys, they'll hit you for 4. So if Narayan didn't get you, Salt has gotten them. And I thought he played a very significant impact innings today.
Yeah, we're getting to see so many of these 14, 15 ball efforts at these outrageous strike rates of 300 and 350. Salt in this game, that could be an innings you look back on as having made a decisive blow right at the top.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just absolutely livid that he wasn't one of my impact players. Phil Salt, look, he's threatened all the time, right? And I think Narayan has overshadowed him, not because Phil Salt's played poorly. Phil Salt's played very nicely at the top, and he's had these kind of impacts throughout the tournament. It's just that Narayan's gone so well, so we haven't spoken about Phil Salt as much. But Phil Salt's a high-quality player. He was probably a little bit unlucky going into the auction that he scored 100 the day before and the day after. If he had have got 2 in a row against the West Indies, he probably would have been a big price tag player. But he's showing why he scores international hundreds at the top, and why he's so damaging, and why he's such a good partner to Sunil Narayan as well, because he puts away different balls and hits to different areas than Sunny does. So they're a really nice combination at the top.
And together it is such a transformation. KKR, the side who kept chopping their opening partnership. I think you saw 8 combinations last season, and now they look the most settled up top.
Well, it's runs, isn't it? They're getting runs, so they're not having to question that. Plus, they're winning games. We see the trend in a lot of teams where there's a lot of chopping and changing when they're trying to find form players and also trying to find a formula to start winning games. But KKR have had a good start to the season to this point. There's absolutely no reason not to, stay as is. The only one thing I thought going into this game is that I thought they may have brought in Nitish Rana, because I believe he's fit now. And if he is fit, you'd have to seriously consider him in that middle order instead of probably Venkatesh Iyer, who's had a modest return to this point.
Yeah, he got the 1/2 century in the reverse fixture against RCB, but other than that, not a lot of runs for Venkatesh Iyer. Shreyas Iyer did get a 50. It's a 50 that comes with 36 balls. Through a middle overs phase where KKR did perhaps have to do some recalibration. Your assessments on how Shreyas played out his knock?
I thought he played well. He needed runs, and today was the day, because obviously Russell wasn't going strong, and Narayan obviously got out. So he needed that kind of innings, and that inning will please him. It will give him confidence, and it does show that when he comes good, and even if the big boys fail, they can still post a decent total like today.
Yeah, and eventually in the end, there's also a cameo from Ramandeep Singh there, 24 of 9. And Ramandeep has actually come out on the broadcast in one of the flash interviews and said that 222 is a really good total, I think, and unless it's a Yorker, pace on is really easy to hit on this wicket.
Well, he would say that he got 24 off 9. so you can be confident as you like after that. But, yep, that's really good intel into the wicket. I'm just really happy for Ramandeep after being let go from Mumbai last year. Surplus to requirements there, and to come into a new franchise, and straight away, the first time he played, he had an impact, and this is probably one of the only other times he's really had an opportunity to impose himself on the game, and once again he's delivered. So great for him, great for KKR. You're right, I think RCB going into this game would have been looking, hopefully we can keep them to 180, 190, and that'll be a good chase for us. But I think they're fully expected to maybe be chasing 210, 220, and And so I don't think they'll be too deflated going into halftime RCB. I think would have been expecting this and hoping to chase less. I think it's going to be a really good chase.
Set up the chase then for us. 222 in front of them. On the evidence of what we've seen so far from the first innings, do you expect KKR spinners to make life difficult for RCB?
Very difficult. I can't see them getting close to this. I think the spin's going to have a real impact in this game. As I touched on, Karan Sharma bowled his 4 overs for 33. I was a little bit stunned that Will Jacks wasn't used in that middle phase, because he does turn it as well and gets bounce on that surface. He would have got bounce on that surface. But I think if they chase down this total, it will be a richly deserved 2 points.
Anyone backing RCB? You are.
Yeah.
You are. Okay. I reckon they're going to go close. Closer than we probably thought before the game. I think they'll fall 8 runs short. And I'm going to back you in. I think Will Jacks will have a day out today.
Correct. Got a good range of predictions. Let's see how things do finish. 223 is the target for RCB. KKR's last game here, they'd batted first. They had made 223 and lost on the last ball to Rajasthan Royals, but that was an evening game and not a day fixture. Let's see how things pan out, and be sure to join us right after this game concludes, where we'll also be building up to Sunday's second game, which is Punjab Kings taking on Gujarat Titans. So see you then on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket Info Timeout. In the meantime, go ahead and download the ESPN Cricket Info mobile app and keep yourself covered with the fastest scores and a lot more.
All new hot and techy Brezza, the Citybird SUV.